Hello, I am Laura at Laura Talk Softer, and part of my channel that I'm doing now, because it's just so random, is I'm reading from a Your Health book from 1947. So that's like long ago. Um, and the just if you listen to the changes and what we think. So this is on page 34 of this magazine. Now, people read this. This is, we have our magazines or well, do we have that many magazines? We have our things we read online and we believe and we are trying to trust the new science or whatever's coming out, but we also question it, always have. This is, do you smoke to excess? So this is talking about tobacco. Do you smoke to excess? Your answers to these questions will indicate if you're smoking too much for your own good. Now, we know that this was 1947. It took till 1964 for the Surgeon General to put the warning on the cigarette packages and just the whole problems with the tobacco industry and money and power and the causal connection of cigarette, tobacco smoking, and health related illnesses, and just how hard that progressed to be saying that it's not good for you. It's not like any of it's good for you. Okay. Anyway, this was written by a doctor, Dr. Robert M. Usland, MD. How can you tell if you're smoking too much? Every smoker has probably read or heard terrorizing tales to the effect that all smoking is injurious to health. That's not true. Smoking, if not carried to extremes, is little more than a nervous habit, something to keep your fingers occupied so that you can sit and think, like the farmer who whittles as he sits on a fence. And no two persons are alike in their reaction to tobacco consumption. Perhaps you may find that 5 cigarettes a day are too much for you, while your neighbor can consume a pack without difficulty. Here's a test which will help you judge whether or not you are smoking too much, if you answer the questions honestly. 1. Does your mouth or throat grow red after smoking? 2. Do you cough a great deal for no apparent reason? 3. Does your skin flush easily? 4. Do you feel a mild dizziness after smoking? 5. Have you a cold that hangs on? 6. Does tobacco no longer taste good? 8. Do your eyes smart? I don't even know what that means. Do your eyes smart? Anybody know what that means? I got to go down that slippery Google trail, don't I? Okay. 9. Do you have a tremor in your hands? The answers. If your answer is number one is yes, you're probably smoking too much. Okay. So if your mouth and your throat grow red after smoking, you're probably smoking too much. The same holds good for number 2. If you cough a great deal, for no apparent reason, you might be smoking too much. A yes answer for number 3 also probably means that you're probably smoking too heavily. Number 3 is, does your skin flush easily? The same is true for number 4, which is, if you're feeling dizzy, you might be smoking too much. If you answer number 5 is yes, stop smoking until you are well. So 5 is, you have a cold that hangs on, maybe pull back on the smoking. If you answer yes to number 6, it's an indication of extreme nervousness, which may build up to nervousness fatigue. Ration your tobacco consumption. So number 6 was, do you smoke several packs of cigarettes each day? So maybe, ration it, not several packs, maybe just 1 pack. I don't know. Okay. An affirmative answer to number 8 and 9 is not indicative of too much smoking. So number 8 and 9 was, do your eyes smart, which I don't know what that means, and do you have tremor in your hands? So don't worry about that. If you're shaking and your eyes smart, whatever that is, I don't know what that is. It's an old wives' tale. To the contrary, these sensations have no bearing on the amount of tobacco you consume. If everyone, ill or well, would practice moderation not only in smoking, but in all eating, drinking, and ways of living, hospitals and physicians would not be as overworked as they now are. To a physician, excessive smoking indicates a form of nervousness, a response to overstimulation of nerves, which in turn may lead to any numbers of ills or aggravate the symptoms of a serious ailment. Smoking is one of 2 excesses I always advise patients suffering from high blood pressure or coronary heart disease to eliminate. The other is coffee drinking. That's interesting because coffee has become fashionable. It's like over years, coffee, Starbucks, gourmet coffees. It's just so fancy to get your expensive coffee. I'm sorry. There is such a definite. I can say words in my head, and then when I'm reading them, I have not read these articles like over before I'm doing it. This is like a dry run of me reading the articles, okay? So if I pronounce a word funny, it's because I have a speech impediment, probably. All right. It took me a long time to say the word cinnamon. Do you have words that are hard to say? Cinnamon. And I won't even tell you about the letter. What was the letter? G. I can say the letter G. Well, G. I used to say she. Okay. The other is coffee drinking. I didn't start drinking coffee until in my 50s. I'm thinking, maybe I need to stop. I have my cup here. I'll show you. It's backwards, but I suffer from CRS syndrome. I can't remember, SHIT. Okay. Back to my old book. Okay. There is such a definite linkage between nerves and high blood pressure, and between nerves and smoking, that it's important for sufferers to cut down on it. So, you need to cut down. You need to cut down on your tobacco. And when I find a chronic sufferer from migraine, headaches, indigestion, or insomnia that aren't traceable to other cause, I check out his tobacco consumption. Not because there's a chemical result from the use of it. Oh, no. Tobacco is just so healthy. No, I'm adding that. But because of the possibility of nervous fatigue, which is indicated by excessive smoking. As an underlying cause, a nervous fatigue may bring about a number of other handicaps. It leads to psychological upset so that the patient may become hypersensitive to disappointments, slights, and changes that he otherwise would not notice. He is filled with a vague restlessness and dissatisfaction and suffers a loss of vitality. For when the nerve cell energy is lowered, the patient's whole personality may undergo a marked change. Moderate smoking brings about a satisfaction for most persons, which acts like a sedative, but excessive smoking can cause or indicate any number of ills. No one, I'm sure, would deliberately impair his health for the sake of a couple of extra smokes each day. So, if this test has indicated that you're immoderate in the use of tobacco, cut down on it and don't cheat. I'm wondering if he recommended, I'm not going to be sarcastic. I'll let it go. If you smoke, it's a tough habit to quit. Just keep trying. Anyway, I'm reading a joke, a fence post prescription, and I'll read it to you. A wild-eyed patient was telling his doctor, quote, "I don't know what to do. It's awful. Every night, doctor. Every night, mind you, ghosts come and sit on the tops of the fence posts around my house. What in the world can I do, doctor?" "There's only one thing to do," said the doctor calmly. "Sharpen the tops." I had to okay, the tops of the posts, and then the ghost won't sit there. I don't know. Anyway, what do you think about what's your opinion on tobacco? I think honestly, I was born in 1964. And that was when the Surgeon General came out and put it on the package about the warning that it's hazardous to your health. And I have a feeling, my mom, she watched soap operas on TV a lot. Maybe I was staring at the television or something. But not that it was on TV, would have been on TV because they used to show people smoking. You used to see people smoking a lot on TV. You used to see it in the magazines. And they started pulling and banning it more like into the 70s, I'm pretty sure. You used to go into stores, restaurants, you could buy like cigarettes out of a machine, like a vending machine. They changed a lot of stuff, made it harder to get for kids to get, all that kind of stuff. But my mom said that she can remember that she was on her back once and I had to be a toddler and she couldn't reach her pack of cigarettes and I grabbed them and I guess I ran, little Laura toddled to the toilet and flushed them down the toilet. And she tells me that story. She has told me that story for years. And then I can remember being around people who smoked. I just didn't like it. It was hard to breathe. And I also remember working in restaurants, like in the early 80s, you had smoking was everywhere. It was in the break rooms, it was whatever. And they started having like non smoking sections until they finally like banned smoking in a lot of places. You can't smoke anymore in restaurants, bars, even in some apartment complexes, buildings, anywhere, on even on grounds outside of buildings, no smoking on the campuses, you know. But I would have people that I would be taking their order, like, "Hi, my name is Laura," and they would be like, "I'll have this," and they're blowing it in my face, and I'd be like trying to hold my breath. And there were just some like what unfiltered Camels, I want to say, certain cigarettes. I thought I was going to die taking the order, and they just would blow it in my face. But that was like the most money was to be made if you were in the smoking section. More people smoked. This is back in the early 80s. The non-smoking section that they developed was like right next to the smoking section, and it wasn't as busy. People would, you know, they weren't really on top of it yet, you know, the whole secondhand smoke, but it grew and it developed into a like, no, we ain't having this. We ain't having it. So, yeah, I actually got in trouble because I didn't want to sit, you know, in the break room with smokers. They would smoke, and I just couldn't handle it. It was like smoky, and so I would go sit out in my car to take a break, and they were like, "You can't be in the car. You can't be out in the parking lot in the car. You know, we don't know what you're doing out there," because there was at that time a rising like drug use, you know, especially in restaurants. So I'm out there in my car, and I'm like, "You can't tell me what I can do." You know, I hate that. You know, you're not paying me for this break. You can't tell me I can't sit out in my car. I'm not like putting down the business. I'm not doing like flips in the parking lot, deterring customers away, that type of thing. So, yeah, I fought that one. I fought it and went to, you know, the bosses, over the top of the boss's head of when they were telling me I had to take my break inside in a smoke filled break room. And, you know, it was kind of really unfair. You know, people who smoked got more breaks. You know, I'm going to go take a smoking break. I wanted to I want to eat a piece of chocolate cake break. You know, that helped calm me down. All right. You know, that didn't fly, you know. Yeah. You know, but then it got worse because some people were going out and I think they were like snorting lines of crank and, you know, then they started smoking crack. But I just wanted to be in my car and just be able to breathe, and never indulged in that terrible addicting habit of smoking, even though I feel like, honestly, I smoked more than probably the smokers because I was subjected to so much secondhand smoke. Yes. Anyway, that is my smoking article from 46? I keep looking at this book. But yeah, I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll be reading more stuff. I got to read my fairy tales too. My old fairy tale book from 1900s. You might catch them on my channel. And then my walks in the community and showing the litter bugs that didn't get the woodsy owl, give a hoot and don't pollute message. I am Laura at Laura Talks Softer. I am a random channel. Like, subscribe, share. Come and join me. Peace.